Do you do a lot of this? Hi, can I order one sesame chicken, a happy family, a human chicken, I mean hunan, or this? So what should we cook for dinner? I don't know. Why are you asking me? I'm asking you. It's like we do this every night. Well then, meal planning is just the thing for you. It saves you money, more than you think. It saves your tummy from looking plummy because you're not having takeout as much, and it makes your nights a lot less stressful, to which I give a thumbie up. Okay, so in this video, I'm not only going to show you how I plan out meals for the week, but you also get to see me cook the meals too. Something I love to do to make the best use out of all our leftovers is to make meals out of leftovers. And you'll be able to see for yourself how I implement that during the second half of this video. But for now, we've got some meal planning to do. I normally plan out 2 weeks at a time, but for this video today, I'm just going to show you 1 week. I like to use Google Docs to organize everything because I'm a doctor of meal planning. What I'm gonna do first is check the sales online to decide what meat I want. And looks like drumsticks and ground beef are on sale, so that's what we'll be having. Next, I'm gonna pull out my handy list of meal ideas. Very important if you're meal planning, keep a growing list of meals your family enjoys. It's gonna make the planning so much easier. Now I'm crossing out everything we can't make, such as turkey burgers, because we don't have ground turkey, and I know I want to make breaded drumsticks, but I promised my son that we could make homemade pizza to start the week, so we're going to start off Monday with pizza. Honestly, this is how all Mondays should start, because Mondays are worse than Tuesdays, and Wednesday, and Thursday. Mondays are just the worst. My husband is crazy about chicken bacon ranch pizza, and I happen to have made chicken parmesan last night, so I have leftover chicken. All I need now is to buy some bacon. Since I'll be cooking bacon, I want to have a recipe where we can eat the leftover bacon, and we love eating baked potatoes, which means on Tuesday we'll have baked potatoes with the leftover bacon. 2 easy nights. It'll be a nice way to start the week. So on to Wednesday. I'm going to get started with one of my meats for the week, and I'll go ahead and add breaded drumsticks on there. It's one of my favorite ways to make drumsticks taste amazing. And since I'll have leftover baked potatoes, then there's no better side dish than a big bowl of steaming hot buttery mashed potatoes. Yum. That leaves us with leftover chicken for Thursday. What should we do with that? Well, let's go over to my list of leftover meal options. This is just a list of meals that I can make out of my leftovers. It's very helpful to have this separated out for when you're meal planning. This section is important because it's very easy to waste food. What can I say? We're picky Americans and we get bored of leftovers. So if you could find ways to make your leftovers into new meals, then you're going to be much less likely to waste food. One of my favorite dishes to make out of our leftovers is pumpkin chicken chili. It has a very unique flavor and a perfect mix of sweet and spice. So I will add that to Thursday, and now we only have 3 more days of meals to plan. And we need to make the best use of this hamburger. Something I haven't made in a while is meatloaf. We eat a lot of cheeseburgers, and it'd be nice to change it up a little bit. So I'll make some meatloaf with box scallop potatoes because they're easy to make and yummy. That's gonna make the rest of this week's planning pretty painless. Saturday, meatloaf sandwiches. You ever have a meatloaf sandwich before? If not, then you need to make a meatloaf just so that you can have a meatloaf sandwich because they're so stinking good. And on Sunday, I think I'll just ground up the meat, make a sauce, throw it over spaghetti, and serve it with a salad. Boom. That's 1 week of delicious and simple meals. When I'm done planning, I'll rewrite my meal plan for the week on this board I made. You should make one too. All you need is a photo frame, any photo frame, some dry erase markers, and then you can print out a meal planning template. I found mine on Google Images for free like 2 years ago, so I can't tell you where that exact one is, but there are many others to choose from. And having this up on your kitchen wall where you can see it is gonna help you not to forget what you're cooking for the week. But you can't cook any of these meals until you shop for the ingredients. So what I like to do is make a list of everything I need for each meal, and then before I leave the house, I will check the kitchen for what I already have. You don't want to be buying tomato sauce when you already have like 6 jars in your cabinet. Don't skip this step. Are you ready to start cooking? Let's do this. Starting with Monday's meal, good old homemade pizza. I'm putting down the bacon first because that's what the husband likes. And here's Jace, my little helper today. I admit I was totally lazy and bought pre-made dough because who else here really hates making dough? Okay, it's time to add the pizza sauce. In my years of making pizza, I've learned that a little sauce goes a long way. And now for the cheese. Always, always, always put too much cheese on your pizza because cheese is the secret to making many meals taste incredibly delicious. My son is doing a fabulous job assorting the pepperoni. He makes me very proud, and I'm cutting up the leftover chicken parmesan from this past Saturday night's meal for my husband. Wish I could have filmed that, but oh well. My bacon is now done to a perfect crisp, so I'm grabbing that off the stovetop. It took me many trials to figure out how not to overcook my bacon, and I finally got it figured out. The pizza is now ready to go in the oven, and I'm gonna go ahead and package away my bacon so that I can have it ready for tomorrow's meal. This was honestly the best pizza we've ever made. I'm from New York, and this was like New York pizza quality pizza. Okay, maybe I won't go that far, but the point is, it exceeded my expectations, and I'm looking forward to another pizza night. And no, we did not have a vegetable because, well, I don't have a good excuse as to why. Whatever. Tomorrow, there will be veggies. Hey there, Tomorrow. How's it going? You came fast. For Tuesday, we are making baked potatoes. These are so easy to put together, and they are good to make when you're angry because you get to violently stab your potatoes with a fork multiple times, which you need to do or your potatoes can actually explode in the oven. It's one of the few times in life that stabbing is the right thing to do. Now I'm covering each potato with olive oil and salt. I like to give them a nice generous amount of salt because I'm a big fan of that high blood pressure all the cool kids are talking about. And then I cook them at 400 degrees for 1 hour. That's normally enough time, but depending on the size of the potato, you might need to add a few minutes more. Here is the promised veggie, frozen green beans. See, I can eat healthy sometimes. And then I like to accompany my healthy eating with some cheese, sour cream, butter, and leftover bacon. And there you have it, one tasty and easy meal. If you watch a lot of my videos, then this next meal may look familiar. I filmed parts of it in a previous video, but now I will show you the full detailed meal. This is how I like to cook drumsticks. I'm pulling off the skin, which seems wrong because the skin is normally the best part, but I trusted the recipe anyway, and thank God I did because this meal is a winner. So after you pull off the skin, you're gonna grab 3 bowls, one with a beaten egg, one with flour, and one with breadcrumbs mixed with the seasonings. All of the recipes are in the description, so you can check them out for yourself to see the specifics of what seasonings I'm adding and the measurements. I'm also pouring my breadcrumb mix into a large Ziploc bag, and I'm ready to start the fun part. First, you dip your drumstick into the flour, then the egg, and lastly, put it into the bag of breadcrumbs. Repeat for each one, and then seal the bag and shake it up good. This will give your drumsticks a nice even coat of breading. Now I'm melting 6 tablespoons of butter and pouring it into the bottom of a 9x13 dish. Place the chicken in the dish and turn it to coat it in the butter as well. Then you put it in the oven for 25 minutes at 350 degrees, and after the initial 25 minutes, you're gonna turn the chicken over and bake it for an additional 25 minutes. So while I wait for the chicken to cook, I'm working on mashing up my leftover potatoes from last night. Russet potatoes are great for making baked potatoes, but not my favorite, nor recommended for making mashed potatoes. They just don't mash as nicely, but it's okay. With a little extra butter and milk, I'll make it work. And then I put together an easy side of cucumbers covered in Italian dressing, and voila, we've got ourselves a complete meal. I love this meal because the chicken comes out so tender, yet the breading is crispy and tasteful. I make this meal at least once a month because it seems like drumsticks are always on sale and you can't deny its deliciousness. Thursday's meal is another favorite. This is called pumpkin chicken chili. We've been making it repeatedly for over a year now, and you may have seen it in my cooking video from last year, but I've changed it up just a little bit since then. So right now I'm chopping up 1 onion and enough of a red pepper to amount to a cup. Next, I'm putting together a chili seasoning mix by adding chili powder, cumin, oregano, red cayenne pepper, salt, and pepper into a bowl. I don't have to cook any chicken for this recipe because I'm using the leftover chicken from my breaded drumsticks, so I'm pulling off all the meat and throwing away the bones. Drumsticks really don't have as much meat as you think they would, but that's okay. This is plenty for our chili. Now I'm heating up olive oil and throwing in my onions and peppers, allowing them to cook until they're soft. Once they were soft, I added garlic and let it cook for another minute. Now I'm adding a half a cup of chicken broth, the leftover chicken, a full can of pumpkin. Just trust me on this one, okay? Don't knock it till you try it. I'm also adding a can of Rotel diced tomatoes with green chilies, the chili seasoning, a can of mild chili beans, and lastly, a can of Great Northern beans. Or you can use black beans as the recipe calls for. This is just what I had in my cabinet, and I'm not really picky about my beans. So now I'm covering the pot to allow it to simmer on medium-low for 15 minutes, and after the 15 minutes are up, all I need to do now is add 1 cup of coconut milk. It's really good with coconut milk, but if you're not too crazy about the idea of using it, then you can substitute 4 ounces of cream cheese. I just really love this with the coconut milk. It makes this so creamy, and it doesn't make it taste like coconut either, so if you aren't a coconut fan, you don't need to worry, because I'm actually not a coconut fan either. If you do end up trying this recipe, please return to this video and tell me your thoughts. I want to know if you guys will love this as much as I do. Alright, Friday is here and we're making meatloaf. First, we're going to start off with some seasoned breadcrumbs. Can't have meatloaf without the breadcrumbs. And I'm adding 3/4 of a cup of Worcestershire sauce, which sounds crazy, right? It felt weird putting this much in, but that's just what the recipe said to do and it came out good. Also, I had more meat than the recipe called for, so I did have to increase the other ingredients because of it. Now I'm cracking an egg into my bowl and adding some salt and pepper, because what is meat without salt and pepper? Now I'm going to add some steak seasonings. I've never used this brand before, so I'm trying it out. And I called for onion flakes, but I'm a big fan of cooked onions, and I just could not settle on having meatloaf without a freshly chopped onion mixed into it. That's just me. My husband says I put too much onion in foods. What about you? Are you an onion hater or an onion appreciator? So now I'm gonna mix it all up until it closely resembles chewed up dog food, and it's time to add the ground beef. I like to put on gloves when working with ground beef because it's not fun to mush your hands into this. So once it's all evenly mixed, then it's ready to go into a greased pan. I have over 3 pounds of meat here, so that's why this larger pan is necessary. I tend to cook in larger portions and then I make good use of the leftovers. It saves me time, money, and effort. So I'm gonna cook it for an hour at 350. While that's cooking, it's time to make some homemade gravy. I added a beef bouillon cube to the bottom of this pot with 1 cup of beef broth and 1 cup of chicken broth. That's interesting. This is the first time I've ever seen those two go together in one recipe. Next, I'm adding a teaspoon of onion powder, a half a teaspoon of garlic powder, and 1.5 teaspoons of Worcestershire sauce. I can't get enough of this stuff, apparently. The recipe recommended adding a few drops of this browning and seasoning sauce for a darker color. I don't really understand why this is beneficial, but I figured I would do it. I guess darker gravy looks tastier? I don't know. But now I'm gonna mix 1/4 of a cup of cold water with 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. Once the gravy is boiling, I will add in the cornstarch water mix. And my meatloaf is done. Yes, a whole hour went by. I do have a toddler and get distracted a lot. So back to my boiling gravy. I can now add in the cornstarch and I'll bring it down to a simmer while it thickens. And it's time to make the scalloped potatoes. This was really easy. I just followed the box directions and they came out great just like I expected. Shaved potatoes covered in cheese. You can't go wrong with that. And I was very satisfied with this dish. Everything tasted great and I don't know why I don't make meatloaf more often. Okay, now it's Saturday and today is an easy day. We're gonna put together some simple but outstandingly delicious meatloaf sandwiches. My husband wanted me to fry the meatloaf in a pan before putting it on the sandwich, and I said, hey, I like how you're thinking, boo. Let's do it. No, I don't actually call him boo, but it was definitely a great idea. So while that fries, I'm cutting up tomatoes. Have you ever heard of Campari tomatoes? Best tomatoes on the tomato market. You gotta get your hands on some. And we normally eat wheat bread, but hey, this is a white bread kind of meal. I put gravy on his bread and mayo on mine. He likes a lot of lettuce, and I like a little bit. And yes, I admit I totally gave myself the better looking tomatoes, but to make up for it, I gave him 1 extra tomato. So that justifies it, okay? And our meatloaf is fried and ready to join the sandwich party. I'm doubling up my husband's meat, well, 'cause you know, men and their meat. and top it off with some cheese and gravy, and you've got yourself a sandwich. All we need now is some leftover scalloped potatoes, and I think this was my favorite meal out of the whole week. And now for the end of the week, I'm pulling my meatloaf right back out of the fridge again to make yet another simple leftover meal. I'm throwing the rest of the meat into a pan with a jar of tomato sauce and a little bit of water to make a meat sauce. Of course, I'm gonna chop up all of the meat so that it is a sauce, and then I can serve it right on top of a giant pile of spaghetti. Who doesn't like spaghetti? And while my spaghetti and meat sauce cook, I'll put together a salad. All I need is a little bit of lettuce, a little bit of my favorite Campari tomatoes, and some cucumber, and there we go. I have a simple salad that I can serve as a perfect side dish to go with this dinner. This meal was really easy, and all I need now is some Parmesan cheese to top it off. So that completes 1 week of planned dinners. And while you're here, are you interested in learning about how you can save on your grocery bill? Well then, click right here to continue to hang out with me, and hey, maybe you'll save some money this week. I'll see you soon.